Do you desire to create a life where you live out your highest expression? Connect with other creative souls also living life and doing business to the beat of their own drum? I am Marie-Nicole and I am devoted to combining beauty, uniqueness and connection in everyday living experiences. As a creative professional and Dharma coach, I help people connect to the truth of who they are and facilitate them in embodying their uniqueness. I am also a mother of two precious young men and with children in tow have established and run unique businesses and embraced opportunities that have contributed to my creative career while creating magical memories for them too. It is my hope that this podcast inspires you to live life on your terms and earn your income through being uniquely you. After all, it is the unique thread we each contribute to the collective tapestry that creates the whole. Worrying about what others think is really not an easy thing to let go of. I know this from first-hand experience. In this episode, I am not trying to say you just need to stop. Instead, I want to invite you to think about why you are doing what you are doing and the way you are doing it. And then ask yourself, if the people you are concerned about thinking you are crazy because of what you are doing and how, are they coming from a place of awareness of what it is that is driving your mission and vision? I used to worry so much about what others think. It was conditioned into me through family, friends, society. Majority of society has experienced this. Several years ago, while I was still married, we started going to our local bar every Thursday night to catch up with whoever was there, locals and travellers alike. It started when I was running sewing classes after school for youth, and our kids were old enough to catch the bus home on their own. We would enjoy a couple of drinks, some tapas at the bar, and then head home to make dinner after that. This went on for many years, but Thursday night outings was not really necessary. I had stopped running sewing classes, so it really did not need to be a midweek thing, but it was something we were doing as a couple without children in tow, and so we moved the regular outing to Friday instead. But it got to a point where I did not feel it was serving me to continue. I actually found it led me to drinking more than I wished to and not feeling great the next day. I struggled to do my morning yoga practice and noticed my muscles were weaker. Having a retail store that opened on a Saturday, I still had another work day to get through. And so it wasn't like I had a day to reset, so it took longer to recover and also held me back from increasing my abilities in other areas of my life, which I valued more. I woke up at 5 a.m. every morning to fit in yoga, journaling and reading so I could improve my physical and mental health and well-being and grow my business in a way that aligned with my values and desired outcomes. It took a while to break this habit, and even after my marriage ended, I found my social activities were mostly based around catching up for a drink, which never really meant a drink. I did find that not having anyone else to drive me home made it easier to reduce my consumption and often ended up being the Uber driver for others at the end of the night. But over time, I desired less and less to go to the bar, especially after I had closed my commercial space and spent more time at home, going within, reflecting on what I truly valued and wished to create for myself going forward in business and life. I yearned for deeper connection, more in-depth conversation, even more time in wild nature. Going to the bar actually stopped being fun for me, especially after my identity in my local community had changed significantly. Going from being a prominent figure in the community, having a multifaceted commercial space that supported other micro and small business owners, as well as a retail store component that became a place to take your guests to when they visited out of town, and a tourist destination for travellers coming to the region. It was so much more than just a shop. It was a beautiful, magical experience for visitors. Throughout that time, I was also contributing to our local business chamber, sitting on committees for council and community engagement projects. Having been married to a head teacher at the local school and mother to two young men who were also very engaged in the community, and then no longer married and closing my commercial space, focusing on my Dharma coaching and contributing to the health and well-being of fellow business owners, the shift in identity was quite significant for me, and it was difficult to engage in conversation with others at the bar. I discovered some people really didn't know how to communicate with me in a way that was enjoyable for them or for me. I have actually let go of a lot of friendships and connections over the last 2.5 years as the misalignment in our values became even more apparent. If I worried about what they think, I would not be producing this podcast and creating content that shares my chosen practices that support me in connecting to my inner essence, allowing that to be my outer expression, standing in my truth, which is about contributing to the collective tapestry with my unique thread, doing business to my own beat. There was more misalignment than simply the overconsumption of alcohol, but I'm only focusing on that as an example. Don't get me wrong, I still love wine and I still do drink. While I do not drink as much and have experimented with stopping and replacing wine with soda water and a slice of lime with dinner, but honestly, I've not yet found a beverage that accompanies my meal as well as wine does. There have been times I have ceased drinking altogether so I could really feel the feelings that were surfacing, so I could understand what was behind the feelings rather than having them numbed by the wine. But at this stage, I've not felt called to cease drinking wine altogether. The point I'm trying to make here is that I'm making decisions from a place of awareness, tuning into what my desired outcomes are in life and business, which is one in the same in my eyes. My desire to create a life that supports my physical, mental, and spiritual health, the environments as well as the people I choose to spend time with regularly, contributes to that. Not saying I will never go to the bar again, it's just not high priority for me. My yoga practice and clarity of thought is far better off for it, and I hope that those I serve through my business offerings are better off for it too. Which is why I spend so much time speaking about self-awareness and connecting to your truth. The flow-on effect into families, communities, and in turn the collective when business owners focus more on operating from their truth rather than conforming to the expectations of others is as much about service to the collective as it is to ourselves. It starts with us. If your business mission is to impact the greater good of all, then letting the opinion of others who do not see what you see or understand the value of what you are doing as it is not in alignment with their focus, then I don't think we'd be better off if you did not continue with your mission out of fear of what they would think of you. Once they see the results you are creating from your way of operating, they will end up taking notice and possibly even get curious about what it is you are doing to achieve such great results. When I talk about results, I am not just referring to how much money lands in your bank account. What I am talking about is all manner of desired outcomes. If you are in the health and wellness industry and your choices and practices lead you to live with more vibrance and vitality, and theirs are leading them to experience more ill health and suffering, they might just want a piece of your homemade pie that not only looks good but tastes great and also leaves you looking vibrant and fresh. Once they realise that their preservative-filled store-bought pie not only tastes ordinary in comparison, but leaves them feeling ordinary after consuming it. Now that's a silly example, but it's one that I think is easy to comprehend. The greatest impact that we can have on others is to lead by example. But we have to be prepared to be seen as wacky, woo-woo, out of the box, waltzing to our own tune, rather than being considered what is normal. That is one of the greatest challenges of being a pioneer. And yes, while there may have been others before you that have been actively stepping into the limelight in your chosen industry, that does not necessarily make it any easier to pioneer amongst your peers. The fact remains, though, that it is so much easier to be true to yourself than suffer through trying to be something you are not to fit into a box that others are expecting you to squish yourself into. I may have shared this in one of my earlier episodes, but I think its relevance to this topic makes it worthwhile sharing again. For 20 years, I suffered from a thyroid condition, which meant I was taking synthetic hormones daily to balance out my system. When the doctor told me I would be on these tablets for life unless I was able to drastically reduce the stress in my life and make significant lifestyle changes, like living the hunter-gatherer lifestyle away from the mainstream chaos and operating in rhythm with and surrounded by wild nature. The doctor didn't prescribe this. That was just where my mind went when I wondered what reducing the stress in my life and making significant changes would look like. At that time, I was self-employed, a first-time new mum, and married. I won't go into all the details of my personal life that meant stress was the standard operating mode for me. What I will say is that in my professional life, I was operating as my true self, expressing my creativity. But in my personal life, I was a square peg in a round hole on so many levels. I knew that I would not be able to make the drastic changes required anytime soon to get off those synthetic drugs. So I accepted the fact that this would just be how it would be for now, however long that would be. Life had other ideas though. While I did continue operating in this way for another 20 years, once my marriage ended and I realised that a lot of the conditioning that was holding me back from expressing my whole truth was no longer a constraint. So I weaned myself off the medication. I told my youngest son, who is still living with me, what I was doing, gave him clear instructions for what to look out for, and if he felt I would be better off taking the tablets, I would start again. 6 months after weaning myself off them, I went for a checkup, and the doctor, not the same doctor, could not believe I had balanced out my hormones without making drastic changes, especially while going through one of the most stressful experiences of my life, with everything I associated with being who I was disappearing from underneath my feet, except for being creative and being a mother. Other than that, I had lost my identity. What I did not tell the doctor was I had recognized that my thyroid condition was about me suppressing my voice and not speaking my truth. What I replaced those tablets with was singing. I took a course in voice activation using your whole body instrument, sound healing from within. I held on to the last few sheets of tablets for another 18 months, just in case, but eventually threw them out. I have never felt stronger, healthier, more empowered than I do now at age 49, living my truth and choosing to focus on what supports my well-being. If I worried about what others would think of me when I spoke about intuition, mind-body connection, cyclical living, doing business to your own beat, I don't think I would be sitting here sharing with you that I am the healthiest and happiest I have been in 25 years. So if you hear me say I don't care what others think, I don't mean I don't care for others. I just mean I cannot afford to care about what others might think of me doing what is best for me, my children, and in turn the collective. I don't want to be a burden on my children. When I can take action on taking care of myself at a foundation level, tuning into and understanding what my body needs, my mind needs, what serves and what doesn't, the results of my choices flow onto them too, and beyond. Learning ways to achieve our objective and then using those learnings to support others along their journey is what I am referring to when I talk about doing business to your own beat. It's not a care factor zero approach or a don't care who I crush on my way up to the top way of operating. It's about moving in tune to our natural rhythm and having that frequency ripple out and benefit others. A beautiful quote by Sahil Bloom landed in my Instagram feed soon after I had written my notes for this podcast episode. Now, I handwrite my notes in a notebook, so I can't say the internet wizards picked up on the theme and fed me this quote as they were data mining my computer activity. Perhaps it was collective consciousness that fed me this quote, which speaks beautifully to this topic, the dilemma of operating in alignment with our truth and the impact that it can have on our circle of influence as we go through that transition. The quote reads like this: "Periods of loneliness are a part of transformation. When you start growing, you will stop fitting into your environment. The people you were aligned with will feel distant, almost as if you are speaking an entirely different language. They say you have changed. They laugh at your dreams. They tell you to be realistic. The season of loneliness is natural, a sign you are on the right path. Remember that." I like how he refers to this as a season of loneliness. It does not say you will be forever standing alone in your truth. Another quote that came through was from Jung Pueblo, who speaks to this aspect nicely, and it reads, healthy habit, put in effort, don't force anything. You attract the right people and situations by being the most real version of yourself. Force pushes things away, authenticity attracts. This makes me think of when I started trading my handcrafted wares at markets, and I had a mannequin on my stall dressed up in an outfit to showcase how the bags looked in context. I too wore an outfit comprising of garments I had made and bags I designed aligned with my lifestyle choices and ethos. The number of times I was asked how much it was for the hat or the linen overlay or my kangaroo fur vest is what led me to include garments as a part of my by Marie-Nicole range when I opened my commercial space. I did not set out to sell clothes, but had been making my own clothes since I was in primary school. By the time I started my artisanal business, I had honed in on understanding the value of premium quality fabrics and natural fibres. I was not trying to sell people on my designs and choices of material. It was me operating from a place of alignment that attracted buyers. It was only recently that I discovered the benefits of natural fibres in terms of their frequency. And I dedicated a whole episode on that if you wish to listen to that. I'll include a link to that in the show notes. My focus on natural fibres was based on the fact that I run hot. My dominant dosha in Ayurveda is Pitta, and my human design type is a manifesting generator. I am constantly on the move. I had no idea about these modalities when I started to experiment with finding ways to literally stay cool. I was simply tuning into the effects of the daily choices I was making and the outcomes of those choices. I noticed that when I wore certain fabrics, I felt like I was suffocating. And while wearing those that felt light and breezy, I moved through my days more effortlessly. On the other end of the spectrum, certain fabrics allowed me to stay warm in winter and still be able to move with ease rather than feel like I was wearing a sumo suit. Years later, when I discovered human design and the gene keys, I learned so much about myself, my family through understanding their designing keys, that I knew this was something I wanted to introduce into my business offerings. It was through the integration of my learnings that led me to want to use this in my work. For years I wanted to become a certified business coach, but I did not want my service to be about obtaining financial goals. I wanted to support business owners in operating in alignment with their soul's calling and their unique energy system. This was not a conversation I was engaging in amongst my peers and family for the most part. There were very few people in my circle of influence that even knew about these modalities, and those that did thought it was woo-woo, out there and wacky. So sharing the fact I was studying to become a Dharma coach, a soul purpose coach, was like speaking a completely different language. But the results I was seeing in my personal well-being and the people I was attracting into my field who were also exploring these teachings led me to stand in my truth despite the loss of connections. The last 7 years has been a process of rebirth, especially the last 2.5. I have had a complete overhaul of my life, and while it has been extremely challenging at times, I feel so much better for standing in my truth and operating in alignment with my higher purpose in this lifetime than trying to maintain status quo, which life did not let me do anyway. It wasn't me that openly said I want things to change drastically. Circumstances unfolded in such a way that I was led into this process of transmutation, which in the end has been the best for my highest good. So if you are concerned about what others will think when you start sharing your knowledge, learnings, and wisdom, and start doing business to your own beat, let me say from my experience, it is so much more worthwhile owning who you are than trying to keep up appearances and squeeze yourself into a box that was not designed for you. Your job is not to help others justify their thoughts, make them feel good about their choices and opinions that are in opposition to yours. Your job is to live in alignment and work towards living out your highest expression and leave them to do the same for themselves. Focusing on your truth, and if what you have discovered along your journey of exploration is something they don't understand, you can't make them or even try to convince them that it would serve them to explore this for themselves. They need to come to that conclusion for themselves. But on the flip side, this shouldn't mean that you let that misalignment hold you back from elevating your life experience because of what they might think. For some in my inner circle of influence, they were just not ready to explore their own shadow patterns and see that some of their suffering came from operating at that frequency rather than focusing on their gifts, comparing themselves to others and seeking validation according to mainstream societal measures. Perhaps this is not their path. But did that mean I should stop exploring my shadow patterns and hold back my growth and expansion? I don't think that would have served anyone either. So accepting the loss and living in alignment really was the only option to move out of suffering for all involved. This is an ongoing process. This is not a once and done solution. For me, developing trust in my mind-body connection, tuning more deeply into my intuition, operating in a cyclical manner, connecting to the cycles of the moon and wild nature has been so valuable, which is why I choose to express the beneficial outcomes that this has led me to experience. Rather than shy away from sharing because others may see me as a mad witch living in her cottage on a hill brewing up concoctions like the fairy tales have led people to believe, that those deeply connected to wild nature are practicing witchcraft. When I had my commercial space, I often had customers say, "You know those things you share in your newsletter? I am into that too, but I can't really say that around here. People will think I'm crazy." For the past almost 14 years, I have been living in a rural location. The village I live in has a population of about 200 people. And the closest town, which is where I had my commercial space, about 6,500. The region itself is 15,000, and it's not too far away from the capital city, which in comparison to Sydney is really just a big country town. The main industry here has been agriculture, not biodynamic or permaculture-based farming practices. I'm talking strip the land of all of its nutrients type of agriculture, and then wonder why we watch the topsoil blow away in strong winds. So for those who have introduced regenerative farming practices to the region, it has been just as difficult for them to openly share what they are learning and discovering along their journey with their peers. This is not just a challenge for those into spirituality and the woo-woo ways of connecting to self and operating from our inner essence. I have been approached by those in the farming industry saying, "I know I look like the other farmers by the way I dress, but I too believe in the effects of energy and that out there stuff, but I can't share that with my peers. And when they discover that my farming practices don't align with theirs, they look at me like I have 3 heads." Thankfully, these ancient wisdom teachings is becoming more widely accepted and seen for the value that it brings to the health and well-being of the collective, but the majority are still not yet on that path. So having a safe space to express ourselves, share our journey of exploration, is not just important for the individuals, but also for the benefit of the collective. As these individuals are not operating from a place of how can I line my pockets with as much coin as possible so I can have the freedom to do as I wish in my retirement, they are looking to the bigger picture, the flow-on effects that future generations will have to deal with. This is across all industries. Not having my commercial space anymore, a space that gave permission for visitors to express themselves openly, is why I am opening a virtual space to connect with the rhythms of wild nature, taking care of ourselves at a foundational level, sharing that journey with others doing the same. Creators Nest Soaring membership is now open to join. Our journey together will start next week if you choose to join. Supporting others grow and thrive in their creative professional journey and life is my intention with this membership offering. When I say creative, I don't just mean those expressing themselves in an artistic manner. I mean creating rather than destroying. Creativity is about fostering thriving. You can be a creative gardener, farmer, researcher. Just take the work of Zach Bush MD as an example. If you don't know his work, I encourage you to look him up. His creative expression comes through the research he has supported after years of being a Western medicine doctor and realising the medical system was missing key elements in the way they operate. His vision is also to support thriving. My focus has been in supporting solopreneurs along their journey, as that has been my journey. If you are a mother as well as a solopreneur, I know it can be hard to create space to take care of your own needs, but your children will benefit from you doing so. Even if you're not a mum, the flow and effect of maintaining our centre in disorienting times positively impacts those in your community and connections. For those who decide to join, know that throughout our journey together, we will continually connect back to the bigger picture vision for our lives, assess whether or not the way we are moving through our days is supportive of that, or if we have strayed off our path. Shifting from doing what we think we should do to choosing to spend our days in ways that is supportive of us thriving instead of merely surviving. Having the support of others along the journey of realising our potential makes it much more enjoyable and possible to get to where we wish to go sooner, which is what I hope this membership offering will provide for you should you choose to join. The cost is only $33 a month, and there's no time frame commitment attached to this other than the time slots that I'll be showing up to open up the portal to connect. This is an opportunity to join and journey along others navigating their way through creating their own pathway to their version of success too. And if you feel it doesn't serve your needs, then the option to quietly step away is there too, with no hard feelings. I want this to be a nurturing, supportive space for those who choose to attend. If you would like to know more about how to join me on this journey and what it involves, I have included a link in the show notes to another video that explains more, as well as a link directly to the membership portal to sign up. The other way that I have been supporting solopreneurs is through the Digital Solutions Program. My focus in that role is to guide business owners in creating an enjoyable, sustainable digital presence for their business that does not consume their days, establishing supportive habits and practices to create consistency in their digital presence. If this could be of service to you, then I encourage you to make the most of this heavily government-funded program that I contribute to as a coach. So if you are in New South Wales, Australia, have an ABN, run a for-profit, micro or small business, make the most of this limited time offer to only pay a small fee of $45 plus GST. When you select the All Access option, you receive up to 4 hours of one-to-one coaching, focusing specifically on your needs in the digital space. And that 4 hours of one-to-one coaching is worth so much more than the $45 that you are paying. And signing up to the program through my affiliate link, choosing the All Access option, you'll also be supporting the production of this podcast, as I will receive a small fee for bringing you into the program. To register, simply click on the link provided in the show notes. Now, if you're not in New South Wales, let alone Australia, then do consider joining the Creators Nest Soaring membership. The more individuals empowered to step into and live out their highest expression, the better equipped we will be to contribute our unique thread to the collective tapestry. And if you don't have that support in your physical connections and surroundings, the intention of this virtual space is to offer you that. So until we meet again, remember that you are not alone in your journey of connecting to your truth. And while those in your peer group or inner circle of influence may not understand the choices you are making, that does not mean you should stop following your gut and share your learnings, especially since I am guessing what you are doing is based on it being for the greater good of all. Thank you for staying to the end of this podcast, and I would really love to hear any insights or inspirations it activated in you. And would appreciate if you left a review expressing how this podcast has been supportive to you on your journey and living your life doing business to your own beat.